Today, we're doing part 1 of 9 traits of an effective leader.
Hey friends, welcome to the Ministry Coach Podcast, where we bring you weekly tips and tactics to help you fast track the growth and health of your youth ministry. My name is Jeff Lascola. This is
Kristen Lascola.
And today we're going over the first 5 of 9 traits all effective and valuable leaders should have.
Yeah. So we got a really cool email from a listener, and he was sharing his story with us, how he got into ministry and the rise and fall of his leadership. And there was
re-rise.
Rise,
fall, re-rise.
Which that is a great lesson for all of us. If you feel like you're in the fall of your leadership, hey, get those wings. You can fly again.
I saw a quote today that said the comeback is always better than the setback.
Ooh, I like that.
Something like that.
Well, I like it. And there was one thing he said that really stuck out to me. And he said his senior pastor was having like that real hard come to Jesus talk with him. And in this moment of honesty and vulnerability, he told his senior pastor, I don't know how to be a leader. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's the most incredible thing you could have said, to just stop and be honest and like, maybe I have some natural gifting and people like me and I love the Bible and maybe I'm somewhat magnetic and you have the makings that would lead others to believe they should put you in a certain position. But then when the rubber meets the road and you actually have to lead something, a lot of us, that's where we self-destruct and fall apart and the wheels start to come off. And this guy, I mean, better now than ever, because he like pulled himself up by his bootstraps. Like, I've got to figure out how to be a leader. Right. And he was saying how much the podcast has helped him. And I was just like, like that is cool.
Yeah.
And I think how many other people are sitting there listening and having that same exact thought? Like, I don't know how to be a leader. I'm leading. I think I'm leading.
Right.
But as far as leadership that is sustainable and that eventually people won't discover like, oh, you actually don't know what you're doing, but you held on for 18 months, way to go. But to give the tools of like, what does a good leader have? And there's tons of traits of great leaders. This is something I learned on the job at my church, and there's 9. I don't know why. Maybe I fell asleep during the 10th. I don't know what happened. But there's 9. And so we're going to split it up into 2 episodes. We're going to do the first 5 on this one, and then we will do a second episode and follow up with the remaining 4. So we're going to go through these for any of you who are sitting there thinking, yeah, I don't know that I really know how to be a leader. That's why we're the Ministry Coach Podcast, because someone saw potential in you enough to give you a job, but are they making sure that you are mentored toward development of that gift? We can't say for sure.
Right. Because there's those people that they always say, naturally born leaders. And we've seen those. I feel like that doesn't always translate to being truly a good leader. It's usually like on the playground, the kids are all following them around, but they have just as much influence of bad that they do as good.
Right.
But it just be like, you're a natural born leader. That's more people naturally follow you.
Right.
So how do you use your influence in their lives?
Sure.
And then as you get older, that could be, like you're magnetic, people follow you, but you still may not fall into that great leader category.
You could just be an influencer,
right.
Which is like, there's something to be said for that. Leaders need influence, but that's not all.
Right. And they need those skills honed. And there's other people that maybe just become good leaders or great leaders because of those around them. But even that's not necessarily enough, because you can be surrounded by great leaders, but until they put their wing around you, it's kind of hard to just glean everything just by watching and hearing.
Right.
So until you really do have that coach or someone kind of coming alongside and helping you, it's hard.
It is hard, and it takes a lot of time. And the more distance between you and a mentor, the longer that time span will be. So with that, number 1, a one trait of a great leader, an effective leader, a valuable leader, someone who can be in it for the long haul, is someone who understands speed of implementation. So leaders, a lot of times, now this could be a real gift, but I also feel like we have this habit of hiding behind this facade of like, well, I'm a visionary. And so we say,
go do it, peons.
okay, you know where I'm going with this, right? So we say, well, I come up with the ideas,
Right.
and then
You guys
what happens?
figure it out.
But okay, who's the you guys?
Anybody below them.
Exactly. And that's the hard thing. And a lot of you that we're talking to work at small churches. There are no you guys.
You're looking around. It stops with me.
You are the you guys. And so anyone, not anyone, but a lot of people can come up with maybe some ideas or dream and say, it would be so great if this, or we could do that. And then they just get complacent, and then they get stuck in their routine and their rut, and there is no implementation. Or they maybe throw some ideas out, but the pace is so slow of making real change that it's not effective anymore. So a good leader understands that, number one, implementation needs to happen, that our ideas can't just stay stuck. A lot of us aren't at the size and complexity to where we have this staff working underneath us. Like we like
delegate.
Like Stephen Furtick, if he comes up with a great idea of something the church should do, he probably has a staff that can make that happen.
A few hundred people that can do it.
Me and you, not so much. So we have to be implementers and visionaries and dreamers. So we have to do it all. And I think we don't get to just pick and choose of, I'm just this kind of leader. Like, well, then learn how to be someone who can implement and come up with ideas. And so that's a great question maybe to ask yourself. Have I shelved any really great ideas, or has there been some change that's needed to happen for a while that I just haven't implemented? Because it could be a really cool something new, but it could also be a fix. Like people have been telling you, hey, you run overtime on your program all the time and parents are out there waiting. And you put it like, oh, well, they're praying, or no, like you need to get your stuff together and get them out of their small group on time so that parents can pick up on time so that you continue to have a great reputation. Implement that change. It's very simple. Tighten up your schedule and make it happen. So whatever those lingering problems that you've told yourself you'll fix someday, get it done. Put a plan in place, bring the people to the table that need to help you. Don't always, there's something to be said about delegation, and obviously good leaders do that. But what we're talking about is just assuming somebody else will put wheels on your ideas and make them happen. Now, delegate portions of that, but ultimately seeing it go across the finish line is your job.
Right. You might have to delegate your own time to yourself to figure out how you're going to do that.
Delegated it to me.
But it is making sure you have that time in your schedule. I'm setting aside this amount of time. There's some people that talk about you put 10% of your day towards vision.
Yeah.
And in this, however long that is, 10% of your day, this time is only for that. And then you probably need to then say, I'm going to put another 10% or 5% or whatever you want to make that be into implementation of said vision.
If it's important to you, if it's just this thing that's been floating around, like, we should have a YouTube channel, but you really don't care, then put that creative energy towards something else, if you don't really feel like it's important.
Yeah.
So when you find that thing that's important, chip away at it 10% a day and get it done. Right. All right. Number 2, this one is initiative. So I would say this makes you organizationally valuable also. This is a trait of some of my favorite staff members I've ever had, whether they're volunteers, interns, directors, associates, whatever it might be. And this is how we're going to sum up this quality: is someone who sees what needs to be done and does it. You don't wait for instruction. So this increases your organizational value within and outside of your own ministry, is the initiative piece. So some people hold so tightly to what they believe is their job description, right?
Mhm.
Well, we're in ministry. There's no roof on that. There's
Right.
no lid on what our job description is for the most part. So are we the kind of people that can just see a need and fill it, whether it's maybe a part of our ministry or something bigger, something outside that affects the entire church, something that you can own and take on. And just because it needs to be done, that's what leaders do.
Right.
That's how I know I want to hire someone is, did I have to literally tell you every single step along the way that needed to get done? Or
Right.
did you just go, oh, well, I know we do this, or I figured that person probably needed to know about this event coming up, so I sent out this email. It's just wow, you just understand how systems work and you just make them happen. So maybe a lot of times we complain that our senior pastors or direct reports or whatever might micromanage us, which we hate. Nobody wants to be micromanaged, but I'm not defending them. I'm just saying, is there anywhere along the line that you have communicated directly or indirectly that you need to be micromanaged? Do you get your stuff done? Get stuff done, do stuff. Leaders just get stuff done. I've talked about before, our crazy parking situation. And I saw, this isn't working. This is going to rub people the wrong way. This makes my program look bad. This makes our church look disorganized. And so I didn't wait for my senior pastor to say, Kristen, if you want these kids to keep coming, you better put a parking structure and plan into place, blah, blah, blah. I just said, whoa, I need to reorganize this and get this done because it's healthy all around. So be a person who just gets stuff done. You see it, you do it. Whether someone asks you to or not, that'll go very far in your reputation within the church.
It's not me at all.
Really?
I will do that at a later unspecified date.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will not hire you.
Nope. So be it.
Maybe I will. I'll be watching you. I'll be giving you opportunities and seeing if
you're going to micromanage
me.
No, thanks.
Never. All right. Number 3 is EQ. So obviously there's a lot of buzz about EQ. If you're out of the buzz, it stands for emotional intelligence, which
is also EI, but it's the same as IQ.
Okay. Where does the Q come from?
I don't know what
Quotient?
IQ is. We'll look it up and post it at the bottom of this video. Yeah, IQ and then EQ. Intelligence and then emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
But it is EI or EQ.
So emotional intelligence, man, it's hard to say. These qualities are all number 1 because people who don't have emotional intelligence. So when we say that, we're talking about organizationally and culturally. So this is that vague, unspoken skill of, can you read a room? Can you
read a person? Even.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Can you read or talk to a person and get a sense of their, how would you describe that?
It's just social intuition.
Yeah. Social awareness.
Yeah, where you can tell, and it's not just talking to, it's also being able to listen to. And that would be a sign of a lack of EQ if you just go and you talk. Great conversation, I'm out of here.
Right.
You'd be like, wow, you have low EQ.
And those people usually aren't the leaders at church.
Right.
Leaders understand what people need. They understand what people think or feel. They can read them, meet them where they're at, and kind of sync up with that. And they know what's appropriate in context and what's not, and a person who does not have this. I guarantee you do, to where it's just you're really nice. You love the Lord. We're glad you're here, but you're a little off.
Right.
You're just a little unaware of how you're coming across. Either you don't have a filter, you say the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Right. And it's
you
kind
are
of
too
a hard one
abrasive.
to know if it's you.
It is.
Because unless somebody tells you, I think it's kind of hard to really see that in
Which
yourself.
could bring up a good point is, are you brave enough to have a conversation and have some people in your life rate your EQ? Just say, have you ever noticed anything about me that maybe I don't read the room correctly, or people leave? Like, my greatest fear is that, like, I'm a part of a meeting or a conversation or some social gathering and everyone leaves and they're like, what was that? Like, we went to this wedding the other day and I loved the beans. They had a taco truck and the beans are so good. And I was looking around the table and I was waiting to see if anyone didn't like their beans, because I was going to offer to eat them.
Beans? You know their beans? You ready? Are you know their beans? You can finish those beans?
So this
I'll eat your beans.
girl at her table, she didn't eat her beans and she was going to offer them to her husband, when I interjected and said,
Leapt across the table.
I'll eat your beans. He didn't even get a chance. And she's like, oh, do you want them? I was like, yes, these beans are so good. To which her husband said, you could probably go get seconds, which I hadn't thought of. But I did eat her beans. And then I thought the next day, I kind of had this out of body experience of like, I was the weird one at the table.
Oh, that kind of out of body experience.
where I
thought since you were so full of beans, it was giving you an out of body experience.
Yeah, that was this morning. But where it was like, I saw myself from a different seat at that table. And I thought, what's wrong with this person? Why do they want these beans? Like, they're being obnoxious. And so I wondered, is that what low EQ looks like? And so that's one of my fears.
Maybe.
Is that, like, people are leaving being
what
like,
was the deal with Bean Girl, man?
She's awkward, you know? And that's a hard sell for someone in a top leadership position, because if you're just sort of a weirdo in a not a good way, you know, like, there's quirky, weird fun, but then there's like, you just don't quite get people. Like, you can't have, like, I think, this is just me. Bubble, sorry. A lot of saliva because I'm thinking about the beans.
Speaking of bad EQ.
Speaking of beans. No, shoot. No,
There's a bubble in my throat.
What did I say before that? I lost my train of thought.
You were attacking beans from across the table. I don't remember.
Hello, take two, because I got
We had
so
to take
distracted.
a little 30-second break there to remember where she was going with that point.
I was leaping across the table, stealing beans from someone's husband, and then I couldn't remember where I was. But I was going to say, it may just be my opinion. This is not like some scientific fact, but I feel like the leader of a ministry should be the kind of person who could go up and hold a conversation with anybody in the room, regardless of age or gender or whether you've met before or not. But you should be the kind of person that has enough relational skills that not only can you talk to anyone, you can probably win over most people quickly. So that's one of the strength finders that's called woo, winning others over. And I know not everybody has it, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be one of your top 5, but you need it probably in there somewhere to where you can win someone over just by talking to them. If you've never read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, that is a great jumping off point. That was probably one of the first books on leadership that I ever read. It's like the easiest read in the world. It's just a bunch of stories and anecdotes and stuff like that. And one of the points he makes pretty strongly across the entire book is people are going to like you if you make them feel good about themselves. It's kind of like that. People don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. Was that Maya Angelou?
Yes.
Finally, Maya Angelou quote. We always credit her with all these quotes. This one was really her.
I don't know, but I've heard it credited to her.
Okay. So it's like, if you have a handful of good questions you can ask people and just let them talk, then well, unless they're super introverted and they won't talk, then at that point you say, hey, it was great to see you. Great to meet you. Goodbye. But if you can just ask them enough questions to
Right.
keep some conversation going and then learn how to wrap it up and like, hey, well, I'm so glad you're here. It was great to see you. Let me know if I can get you anything. And then you can exit. But just to turn on that EQ a little bit of like, hey, I'm a person who understands how to connect with people. And if that is not if that doesn't come naturally, you start to work that muscle.
Right.
Go to different events where you don't know a ton of people at the church. Maybe it's a welcome event or a men's or women's Bible study I don't know, just find an event and just try to strike up conversation with people. I think that's a very good practice for leaders to have.
Yeah. Jerry Seinfeld, I can't remember where, if it was in a book or show or something, but he said if he's ever in a conversation with somebody, I think he was saying it in regards to if he was in a boring conversation or like I'm stuck having a conversation with this person I really don't want to. He said, in my own mind, to make it more entertaining, I turn it into a mini talk show where I'm the host and I'm interviewing this person. And it kind of does make it more entertaining and more engaging. Right. And yeah, we were talking about this the other day where I said you could go up to somebody that you've never met before and have a conversation with them where basically 90% of the time you're asking them questions and just listening to their answer. And when they walk away, if someone were to say, what do you think of Kristen? What do you think of Jeff? They'd be like, oh, they're amazing. Only because they listened to me.
Yeah, they're not amazing because they really are like, because they did this, they did that. They don't care what you did.
They gave me all their accolades. Not that I have any, but it's more, that's how you made them feel. Going back to supposedly the Maya Angelou quote.
Thanks, Maya.
Yeah. So yeah, it just goes back to like, if you are giving more than getting. Right. And in the conversation, people will respect you and enjoy your company much more.
For sure. And if you still suck, there is emotional intelligence coaches, consultants, assessments, tools, seminars, all kinds of stuff because it's hot topic right now. So if you're like, man, I think I'm a little bit socially awkward and I'm more behind the scenes, but somehow I'm a pastor, reach out for some tools. There's a lot out there. Okay, number 4, a trait that a leader should have to be valuable and effective is, this one's hard for me to even say, low maintenance. That one's tricky. Because if you listen to my camp episode, you will know what I mean. Okay, so low maintenance, it doesn't mean that you can't be super glam. Fabulous. Because you can be fabulous and effective. I was reading this book, Peace with God, the other day by Billy Graham, and I
can't wait for you to bring this back to the point you're about to make.
You will be surprised. He threw me a curveball, and he was talking about how Christians should be in style and attractive. Okay,
well, I've often said that the drug of Christian culture is fashion.
Well, I think he was saying like, hey, like, let's deliver the gospel in a pretty package, all right? And it just caught me off guard because Billy Graham, I mean, he seemed a little flashy. I mean, he had like a suit and nice hair back in the day, but I mean, it was just interesting to hear him say that.
Yeah, no, it makes sense though.
But low maintenance, that's not really what I mean by that. Low maintenance is really kind of that flexibility factor. Like you can roll with changes. A lot of people don't like changes. Changes are going to come. Mm-hmm. So don't be stuck as or labeled as the person who complains when you don't need to. Save those chips. If you're the kind of person that has to bring something to the table, I just really think that this was just blah, blah, blah. Like if you always have that to bring to the table, dare I say that might be a little sign of immaturity. So how do I know? Because I was very immature in that way. And I was always looking for the negative because I thought everything was there for me to critique, and sometimes
no solutions either. Just critique.
Here's my expert opinion. That was wrong. That was wrong. Hated that. Nope. And I think that's a sign of immaturity to where we just offer our quote expert opinion and are just like, there it is. You're welcome.
Do with that what you may.
But to be low maintenance, I think you really hold that card close of like, I'm going to play this complaint card when it's absolutely 100% necessary. And I'm going to wrap it up so nice, you're not even going to know it's a complaint because I'm the kind of person who can roll with some inconvenience.
Yeah.
You know, like I think we are a little immature when we expect like, well, I should have this and I should have that. And then this should be like this and this should be like that. Guess what? How many things are going to go wrong on a given weeknight program or a Sunday morning, or something's in your office that shouldn't be? We don't need to send out a staff email. Just move it. You know, like don't be the kind of person that becomes this high maintenance, gets a reputation for not being able to flex, you know? And
I think it also takes away from your voice, because if someone brings up something that's, you know, like, hey, let's try this, or here's something new, and you're constantly the one that's shooting it down, it's almost becoming expected. It's like, it's white noise.
Right.
I'm like, why am I going to listen to that? I knew you're going to say something, you're going to have a problem with it, because you always do.
Right.
Versus if you're going along with the team, helping out, making that idea as the best it can be, and then all of a sudden, I have a little bit of pushback on that. Oh, by all means, tell me.
Well, and that's a healthy team dynamic, to be able to have pushback, but as long as you're moving in the right direction. If you're just saying,
no, like,
but if you're like,
like
you know
some
what?
people that have problems with everything.
Right. But if you're like, hey, I don't think it would work quite like that, but what if?
That's
and
the
like
solution
you run
factor.
alongside people. So low maintenance means that you're able to also deal with something that happens unexpectedly and turn it around for like, whoa, hey, our worship leader didn't show up, but you know what we did instead? And the kids love this. And this was amazing. And then you become this person that others say,
yes,
whoa,
go on. What was it?
You problem solve. I don't know. I can't. We played the tambourine.
Brilliant.
And snapped and clapped and kept the rhythm. Okay, so number 5 and finally
for this
first
half
is that you are a team builder. Team builder. Effective leaders, valuable leaders, strong leaders build teams. They build teams around them of loyal people who stick around for a while. So the best leadership model is the shared leadership model. And building teams, here's what it does, is that it plugs people in to the body of Christ and helps them to understand who they are, how they were created, and it gets them to stick around. Larry Osborne, our senior pastor, wrote a book called Sticky Church. Sticky Teams was one for church teams. And one of the concepts there is you get people plugged in to playing to their strengths and they want to stick around. So leaders identify people who can be a part of the team and where they fit and can invite them into the big picture of the church and to ministry. And there's this whole idea, and it's in the book Growing Young, and it's by Kara Powell and some other people that all work together on it. But it's like this idea of keychain leadership, meaning like I'm giving you the keys, like, so you have authority, like, and they're talking about literal keys and figuratively, like, hey, I trust you with keys to the church, like open and close doors and you can access places. There's something about that.
Yeah.
Instead of having to like, hey, I need to open the closet, can anyone let me in kind of thing, or being able to like access places on your own. But also that keychain leadership of, hey, I trust you to make decisions, or I'm putting something in your hands. So we've talked a lot about that. And
I think you've even talked about that book before.
I have?
Kara Powell sound familiar.
Pow!
Well.
Yeah. So how are you empowering people? And I think that is just something we will probably talk about on this episode and many episodes to come, because that's something that needs to be dripped in. Leaders need to create other leaders and empower them in their authority and influence to do so. So passing stuff off to them, not just responsibilities, but authority and leadership and all of that. So building a team around you. So if you are just getting started and you don't have a team yet, this is a great first step for you. You cannot do anything without a team. You are one person. So whether that's a volunteer team, an intern team, a student leadership team, whatever it might be, you need to build and create teams and pour into those teams, empowering them to be the church.
That one kind of goes back to point 1, though, about being the visionary but then also having a team that can help you implement those things.
Sure.
Not that you just delegate all of it, but
Right.
you need that in place to get some of that stuff running.
And I think my favorite form of leadership is I don't want to manage anyone. I think I've said this before. I want to
mismanage.
Whether I want to or not, I am. No, just kidding. I want to like run alongside you. It's like, I want you to be in your lane. I want to be in my lane, and I want to run next to you and be like, how are we doing?
And
what
we'll
do
talk.
you need? And yeah, but I want to be next to you.
Not pushing someone, not pulling someone.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that, but that is true. I just really love running hard next to somebody who also wants to run hard, and me encouraging them and them encouraging me, and us being a team together. I think that's the best one. I don't necessarily love the
running.
Well, no, I do the elliptical because running, it's hard on your joints. But I don't like feeling like I'm in a different category than like my team. You know what I mean? I like to be like our campus pastor right now. He said, I get the most joy when I'm helping you succeed. So and I'm like, that's amazing. And that's kind of how I feel with my team too. Like, I don't want you to build me up like, hey guys, give me a boost. Let me use your gifts so that I can boost myself or further my cause or whatever. But like, how can we all help each other succeed? And that's where I feel like this beautiful symphony of leadership happens, to where you're like, we're doing it, and it's so fun to watch people encourage each other in that way.
Totally. Well,
that's all 5. We'll do 4 later.
Yes.
But we have a question of the day.
Question of the day is, what non-threatening animal are you a little terrified of?
Okay, I know this one immediately. Slugs.
Oh, yeah.
I hate slugs. I get so freaked out.
It's like one of the slowest moving animals.
So when I was in elementary school, my friends and I rode our bikes to this park, and there was all these like clovers that had like grown really high, and we were riding our bikes through them, and we took our bikes out and we looked at each other. Both of our bikes were covered. Like, I mean, we're not up by the handlebars, but like pedals, wheels, chain everywhere with I just got the chills. Slugs. It reminds me of that scene in Stand By Me where they go in the swampy water and they have leeches all over them. Oh my gosh. And sometimes in our backyard, I'll walk out there in flip-flops and there'll be slugs, like little tiny slugs on my flip-flops and my feet. And it's...
So is it that they just stick to things, or do they see you coming and they just...
I don't know, but I got the chills. It's like in my spine. I hate them. They're so gross. But snails are kind of gross, but I don't get the heebie-jeebies. And a snail is a slug with a house.
Kind of.
Right? Aren't they the same animal?
They're not the same animal. I think they're probably from the same...
Isn't a slug just looking for a show?
Oh my gosh. Stop talking now.
Okay, that's not true.
Different animal.
Like a hermit crab.
No. Was it going to use its arms to climb in? No. It's not the same.
Find a way.
Do you see the little eyeball antenna things on slugs?
No. I think so.
No.
They were
not the kind we have.
Doing the shell.
Beep, beep.
They're just looking for an empty one. I will challenge you on that. I could be right about that.
Oh, you could be very wrong, and you are. So mine is the big grasshoppers.
Even when they're on the floor and they aren't flying?
Well, you could say that about slugs, even when they're on the leaf.
Grasshoppers, if I'm just looking at them, I'm like,
but
if they start flying, it's like,
well, it's because I don't trust them. They're like drunk drivers.
Yeah.
They just, and if they get spooked and they fly, the little ones not so much. But the big ones, they'll just crash right into you.
I know.
That just freaks me out.
Maybe they have really bad eyesight.
And they'll like end up on you too. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I was coming this way. You should have flown that way. And now you're on me. It just, don't like them. All right, you guys. Make sure you guys stick around for next week when we go over the final 4 of the 9 traits that every effective leader should have. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And we will see you next time.